I've been struck in recent weeks by the remarkable difference between how the world sees Britain and how we, or perhaps I should say our media, see ourselves. Perhaps blinkered by Brexit, too many in this country look out for only the worst in us, misinterpreting and distorting the truth of the good that we do, fixed with a bad news filter that does not beset the rest of the world. In recent days, polling has shown that Ukrainians themselves view the UK more favourably than any other country, asked by US pollsters Signal. Within Ukraine, Boris Johnson has a net approval rating of plus 50, ahead of any other leader other than Ukraine's own President Zelensky. Double that of Biden or German Chancellor Scholz. Meanwhile, Russia is spitting with fury at the UK for being what it sees as, quote, the most anti-Russian, for which we should read anti-Putin, government in the world. And it's easy to see why. Despite a self-flagellatory media too often intent on painting the UK as if it is hated, weak or slow, the reality is quite different. The UK was the first in the world to close off its airspace to Russian planes. Aeroflot was banned from flying into the UK on Thursday, the 24th of February. The EU followed suit on the Sunday. The UK was the first to go furthest on financial sanctions, arguably those that bite the Kremlin the hardest. Prioritising the banking system has been the biggest impactful event, although admittedly it's not as PR-friendly as seizing an empty yacht. But more importantly than optics, the UK is pushing for fuller action on the SWIFT banking system, something that some European leaders are sadly resisting. And when it comes to military action, UK troops have been training the Ukrainian military for years. Last year, the UK supplied 2 minesweepers and jointly built 8 ships for Ukraine's Black Sea Fleet. And of course, the UK was sending those crucial anti-tank missiles to Ukraine all the way back in January, when most of the media hadn't twigged what was going on in Eastern Europe. Germany, on the other hand, sent just 5,000 helmets to Ukraine at the start of February. The German government refused to provide weapons in the face of possible Russian invasion. The helmet move was slammed by the mayor of Kiev at the time as an absolute joke. Indeed, it's remarkable how in Zelensky's address to the German Bundestag recently, he criticised the country over its prioritising of the economy over opposition to Russia preparing for a great war. On sanctions, Zelensky told the Bundestag, quote, "We saw delays. We felt resistance. We understood that you wanted to continue the economy. Economy, economy." Now, can you imagine if he'd said anything like that to our Parliament here in the United Kingdom? No, instead he praised the British people, evoked Churchill and Shakespeare. He showed an appreciation for the United Kingdom that is shared by Ukrainians and people across the world. Sadly, it's not shared by far too much of our political class and our media. Take yesterday's NATO summit. Boris was greeting and meeting foreign heads of states, shaking their hand, making conversation. How did Twitter, some politicians and some unscrupulous journalists present it? By snipping up 10 seconds of footage to pretend that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was isolated. They genuinely claimed he was, quote, snubbed, despite video and pictorial evidence to the contrary. Now, the UK is one of the most important countries in the world, and that status was reflected yesterday. And let us not forget that at the start of February, before the invasion, there was one flag in particular at the front and centre of the Ukrainian Parliament's show of thanks for international support. It was the British flag. It was our flag. And yet we shrink from the idea that our country might be doing some good in the world, that we might be leading in the way of opposition to Putin's war of aggression. How sad.